Absolutely delighted now to be joined by Kristie Ebi. Chris, welcome.
Thank you, it's good to be here.
Thank you very much indeed for taking the time to talk to us today.
My pleasure.
So, National Climate Assessment Reports. What is a National Climate Assessment Report and why is it important?
The National Climate Assessments are mandated by law. Congress passed a law in 1990 saying that every 4 years there needs to be an assessment of what we know in the United States about the state of climate science, what's happened in the United States in terms of impacts of a changing climate, what the risks are for the future, and what can we do about it? Are there ways that we can reduce our risks in the short and the long term?
So the last report that you did, what were some of the findings?
Some of the key findings in the fourth report are that we all know that the climate is changing. It's become much clearer over the last 4 years that these changes have resulted in impacts on our health, on our livelihoods, and our ecosystems. So we can now document impacts of a changing climate in the United States and clearly show that each additional unit of warming will have higher risks. That as we go from current warming, which is about 1 degree above pre-industrial, to 1.5 degrees Celsius to 2 degrees Celsius, that each increase is associated with greater risks. So it increases the urgency for reducing our greenhouse gas emissions and for increasing our adaptation, preparing our communities to manage the changes that are ongoing.
That sounds really important, doesn't it? Because you're actually saying that changes to the climate right now are affecting the health of communities here in the United States.
That's true. It is going on right now that people are suffering and dying from events related to a changing climate. And so it's urgent that we address those and be prepared for even further changes.
So you say it's urgent that we address them. How do we address them?
There's two main sets of policies that we use to address these. One is called adaptation. And adaptation is recognizing climate change is going on right now, increases in the frequency and intensity of extreme events. We've seen devastating consequences from wildfires, from hurricanes,
Sure.
And making sure that our communities are prepared to manage these changes as they come. Recognizing that many of these changes are compound changes.
Right.
So you look at California where you both had long-term drought and then you had wildfires. So you need to manage combinations of these risks. And so finding ways to ensure that we're ready. For health, for example, there's surveillance programs to tell us where mosquitoes and ticks are that carry diseases. Right. We need to know where they are. We need to track them as they change their ranges. We need to put in early warning systems to warn communities of when there are changes coming about. And in the longer term, we need to reduce our greenhouse gas emissions.
Right.
And a key message from the report is not that we just need to reduce our emissions, but that essentially all mitigation policies have health co-benefits.
Right.
And so it's good for our health to reduce emissions from power plants, reduce emissions from tailpipes, get more people out walking and biking. And those benefits to our health are now, so they'll happen much sooner than the benefits of mitigating greenhouse gases for our future climate. And when you estimate the costs associated with those benefits, when you estimate the value of reduced hospitalizations, reductions in premature mortality, that value is almost as much as the cost of mitigating itself. So we should be doing this now for our health.
I have to ask you though, you make the case that this is really important and people are suffering and in fact dying. You make the case for the benefits of taking action. I have to ask you though, do you think America is listening?
They're listening now more than they have before. There's been a series of reports that came out this fall, the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change Special Report, the National Climate Assessment, other documents have come out.
Right.
And the media attention has been very, very large. So it does seem as if people are now getting the message more clearly, and surveys suggest that more and more Americans are committed to making a difference.
Okay. Now my final question is, it's great that you do all this work, but it's voluntary work, isn't it? It's volunteers.
It's voluntary work. It's nights, it's weekends, it's family holidays. But we do it because we see the value of it, and we think it's important for the American public to know where we stand with respect to understanding about climate change.
Chris, thank you ever so much. Really
Thank you so much.
appreciate it.
Thank you.
AGU TV has all the coverage you could want from this year's conference. Now make sure to explore all of our content, which is updated each and every day of the conference, to stay up to date with all the very latest AGU news.